Hello students, this is video 2 of the period 1 pre-colonial economics. So we left on mercantilism, and mercantilism was a new design economic system developed to facilitate the growth and power of these new centralizing European states. Europeans believed there was a fixed or certain amount of wealth or gold in the world, and the goal was to control most of it. Mercantilism was state control of trade in the hopes of enhancing national power at the expense of rival countries. So, for example, Britain wanted to accumulate as much wealth from trade as possible at the expense of France, Spain, and the Netherlands. So, the first method was, for example, sell more to them in exports than you would buy from them in imports. So, example, Britain would sell more to France, and they wouldn't buy as much of their products because they wanted to sell more of their exports than get imports. The second method was to steal or interrupt their trade goods and colonies while setting up and protecting your own. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Charter companies. So it was impossible at the time for countries to establish, develop, protect, and run their colonies and world trade. It was way too much. And taxing citizens for exploration they never see or benefit from would have devastating effects on the mother countries. The citizens would be like, hey, why are you taxing us? What's the reason? The solution was to have official charter companies that were commissioned, such as the Virginia Company and London Company, by the states, such as the British, the Dutch, or French government. These companies used joint stock investment to explore, build ships, hire soldiers, establish colonies, plantations in the name of their mother country, so the country that they represented. Lastly, these companies actively waged war on one another in the Indian Ocean, Africa, and the Americas, even as the states themselves were peaceful or allies. So we saw the second method that they would, try to compete with them, and they would even wage war. So European exploration. With the decline of the Silk Road following the end of the Mongolian Empire in the 14th century, as well as strained relations with the Arabs in the Middle East, Europeans were left without a connection to the lucrative markets of India and China. As such, Europeans beginning in the 15th century began to seek their own route to the east. In beginning with the Portuguese and Spanish, European explorers began searching for a new route funded by royal patrons, which were like um, rich Europeans, and joint stock companies. While royal patrons such as Henry the Navigator of Portugal and Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain funded some, others used investor money through the joint stock technique. Often forming a corporation to reduce liability, the joint stock insured investors would be repaid in proportion to their investment. So, say these investors said, all right, I'll give you 10%, I'll invest 10%. When the boat came back, um, the investors would get 10% of the profits that returned. And then investors further protected themselves by investing in multiple ships, which made exploration incredibly lucrative when ships returned because the ships would come back with gold, silver, slaves, or cash crops from the New World or Old World.